Well, good morning, YouTube. So finally figuring out how to get this apart. There's 6 Phillips screws that hold the back panel in place. So you have to take those out, 3 on each side, and then you stand it up. You've got a screwdriver in here and pushed back, and that releases this top cover, and that also then releases this front cover, which you can push down. And let's see, let's just pull that connector out. That's the LCD panel in the front. So there's a screw right there. Yeah, so far all the screws seem to be the same size. I'm using my little security light here, the Garrity security light. It's got the night light function, and then it's got a battery backed up LED here. Okay, yeah, figured it out. You have to get a screwdriver in between this vertical piece and the clip and pry this out just a little bit, and then lift with your thumb, and then there you go. The two halves separate. Now we can spin this around, and we zoom in a little bit there. Take a look at that yellow gorilla snot. Yeah, so we got some right there, strain relief. There's some there. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a whole lot. Yeah, supposedly the bad spot is under here. I guess that's the battery tray. Okay, yeah, the battery tray is held in. There's 2 clips. There's one right here. So what I did was pried up on this side while I pushed in on that one. And now I can get under here. They're really stiff springs. Yeah, so you need a small enough screwdriver to fit between the 2 teeth on that clip. And then let's see if I can get in here. There we go. So now, is there anything else here? Okay, there's the battery tray right there. That's the one you want to get, because you see how that glue is turning a darker color, and this right here. So that stuff is getting ready to become conductive, and once that happens, it'll turn right across there. So anyway, yeah, let me see if I can get that stuff scraped out of there and try to clean that up. Yeah, good thing I got in here, because that's the bad spot right there. Let me take a look at that and see what can be done about that. Yeah, and then right here and right down here, I guess this is the thermistor wire. Let me poke around in there, see what I can do, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I think I got most of the glue out of there. This one was probably the hardest area to get. I think they mainly intended to glue these 2 capacitors together to keep them from vibrating. So I left a little bit of the adhesive between there, but they had filled this whole gap in here around this IC. So I had to get in under there with a plastic scraper. Yeah, and then over here there was some glue holding, I think there's a diode and a resistor. And those 2 were glued together and then glued to this mob over here. So I got those separated, and for those I found a pair of wire cutters. So if you just grab the glued on part of the wire and just squeeze really gently, the glue is so brittle it just fractures. So you can scrape that off, because these things are just on leads. I didn't want to break them off the circuit board, so I just kind of crunched the glue off. I think that one's okay. And then, like I say, I got this one here. Used some acetone. So I had a little bottle of acetone there. That seemed to help loosen it up a bit. And then I went over with some isopropyl alcohol with a toothbrush after I got things cleaned off, kind of scrubbed everything down, get all the little loose pieces out of there. You can see there's the big chunks I removed. I'll probably go over the circuit board a few more times with the toothbrush. Yeah, so over here there's a diode and a resistor, and they were glued together. So I did the wire cutter trick and just sort of crunched the heavy glue on there and broke it off for the most part. I've got to get this one cleaned out a little bit more. There's all the chunks of glue down there, but these didn't seem to be colored or discolored. And then down here, I think this is the thermistor wire. That one is glued down really solid, and there's a whole bunch of really fine tracks down there, fine traces, so I don't want to be poking away at that with anything really hard. So I might try hitting it with some alcohol a few more times, see if I can soften that up. But this one also isn't discolored, and I don't think there's any high voltage here, and I'm just worried about damaging those traces underneath if I start getting too aggressive with that. Okay, yeah, I think I got everything cleaned up. I worked a little more in this area. There was some glue down behind this 8-pin IC right here, so I kind of worked in there, used a little angle pick there to get around the back side, and then cleaned up these components a little bit more with the tweezers, kind of broke off any of the excess that I could get easily. And then there's also a little bit of the yellow glue was holding this capacitor to the heat sink, so I was able to work in here with this pick and sort of get under it and lift it up. So I've got that all cleaned off the circuit board. There's still some on the side of the capacitor, but so yeah, I think time to put this guy back together. So let's see. Oh, there we go. Yeah, my freezer just shut off, so yeah, so today power's off, but my freezer is running just normally. It runs off of 24 volts off my battery bank. The water heater just kicked on. I'm running my tankless water heater off of solar. The refrigerator is running off my solar, and I just made a shot of espresso just a while ago. I plugged that into the solar, and the espresso machine works. And now I moved that plug over to the dishwasher, and I'm running a load of dishes off of solar power. That takes about 1200 watts to run the dishwasher. That's about 50% of the inverter output. It's a 2400 watt inverter. Yeah, basically running stuff on solar today. Utility finished with the one pole. They're changing out some of the crossbars on top of the power poles. So they finished one. I think they must be working on another one down the way. Just make sure I didn't leave any chunks of glue anywhere in there. Yeah, there's really no dust on the fan blade, so I think I'm just going to leave the fan alone. It seems to be okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to button this thing back up. Yeah, and then I've got my lithium iron phosphate on a little solar panel charging up. I think it's getting pretty close to fully charged. Put the lithium iron phosphate in there and see what it does. So yeah, let me get this put back together. I need to move the camera out of the way so I can work on that. And then, yeah, maybe I'll do some battery testing. So stay tuned.